Every day, more mysterious missing person cases are added to the books of police departments around the world. Most are quickly solved, but some mysterious cases go unexplained for years. Number 5. In 2002, Michelle Lee Rust disappeared in extremely suspicious circumstances from her home in Maryland. To this day, her missing person case remains unsolved. Michelle was a 24-year-old stay-at-home mom when she disappeared. It was July 20th, 2002, and Michelle had plans to go to some local shops to buy supplies for her son's 3rd birthday party. She left her son's home with her husband, Dwight DJ Rust. Dwight apparently didn't see Michelle leave the house, but did see her green 1998 Dodge Caravan around a bend on their street as she left. He couldn't be sure she was the one driving the vehicle, though. About an hour after Michelle left, she still hadn't returned home. This was at about 10:30 a.m., but Dwight was still concerned enough to contact her parents to ask if they had seen her, and they hadn't. Michelle was diabetic, and they were concerned something might have happened to her, so they began a search. Less than half an hour later, Michelle's vehicle was found parked in front of a row of houses near a park. It wasn't too far from her house. The car key had been broken off in the door, and the rest of her keys as well as her credit cards and Michelle herself were nowhere to be found. Almost 20 years later, what happened to Michelle remains a mystery. Investigators weren't even sure Michelle had made it to her vehicle that morning before being attacked. They didn't believe she had left the house voluntarily, and now a missing person case was being treated like a potential kidnapping. At first, for some reason, the investigation focused on her parents, but they were eventually ruled out as suspects. Instead, Dwight became the focus, as it was believed his extramarital affairs might have been connected to this unsolved case. Dwight had a number of affairs, and the day before Michelle went missing, they'd been arguing about one of them. Michelle had allegedly told friends that if she ever went missing, one of the girlfriends would be responsible, and it seemed like she was genuinely scared of them. Many also suspect Dwight may have been directly involved in the disappearance. The shop that Michelle was supposed to have been heading to was about a 15-minute drive away, so the fact that she wasn't home within an hour wouldn't have been too odd. It's not known why Dwight became worried so quickly. Police have not named any suspects, but Dwight hasn't been ruled out by their investigation just yet. Michelle's friends and family hope that this case can still be solved. Michelle was 5'4" and weighed 140 pounds when she disappeared. She's described as having red hair and blue eyes, and she may have been carrying a black backpack which would have contained her medication. Baltimore police are investigating the case and can be contacted at 410-307-2020. Number 4. For more than 30 years, the friends and family of Jody Fern Howard have been trying to find answers in her chilling missing person case. So far, little progress has been made, and the mystery remains unsolved. Jody was a 28-year-old Native American woman living in Fraser, Montana, near to her family. She had always been very close to her family, keeping in regular contact with her aunts and going to visit them at least every other day. So when Jody disappeared without a trace in October of that year, her family knew that there was something wrong. It was October 7th when Jody was last seen. She was leaving the town pump gas station on the reservation. Little information is known about this, like whether or not she was driving, what if anything she bought, and who at the station spotted her. Her family didn't go to police right away. This wouldn't necessarily be suspicious, and it's likely the family tried to solve the mystery themselves before turning to law enforcement as a last resort. But on November 10th, Jody was reported missing to the authorities. It would have been extremely out of character for Jody to just walk away from her life. As well as being close to her family, she had 4 young children at home, and her family don't believe she would have abandoned them. Immediately, foul play became a possibility. Sadly, violence against Native American women isn't uncommon, and many of those cases go unsolved and neglected. There were rumors that somebody had taken Jody's life and left her body in a lagoon. In 1995, authorities drained the lagoon but found no trace of Jody. At the same time, there were many reported sightings of the missing woman, both inside Montana and out of state. Authorities tried to follow up on all of these sightings, but none of the leads would pan out. Jody would be 58 years old today. Her children are now adults, but have no more answers about what happened to their mother, as her mysterious case remains unsolved. Jody is described as 5'4", weighing 125 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She had an ink dot tattoo on one finger and a birthmark on her neck. It's likely someone knows something that could help solve this missing person case and give Jody's family answers. Anyone with information should contact Roosevelt County Sheriff's Department at 406-653-6216. Number 3. The search for missing Mohamed alBaghdadi was the most costly of any missing person search anywhere in the world, but his case has still not been solved. Mohamed was an incredibly wealthy businessman who disappeared from his vacation home in Romania. He was 79 years old at the time. Mohamed had started his early career working in the oil industry before starting his own oil company with his brother. That led to the family becoming millionaires. He decided to spend some of that money in Romania, where he bought a patch of land in 1993 and built a boarding house. He and his family would come to visit every summer. He got on well with locals and nobody had a bad word to say about it. In later years, Mohamed would stay in a guest house rather than in the main villa. He had a heart condition and needed special care, and didn't want to burden his family, which presumably he thought his failing health did. It was on one of these summer trips that Mohamed vanished. He was last seen on August 5th, 2015. His housekeeper went into his room at the guest house to vacuum. Mohamed didn't like loud noises, so he decided to head downstairs to wait until she was finished. When the housekeeper was done, she went downstairs to find Mohamed gone. His family assumed he had just gone for a walk to get lunch, but when he didn't come home, they began to look for him. They didn't think he could have gotten far, but when they couldn't find him, they decided to contact authorities. A search began immediately. Underwater vehicles were utilized to search lakes, more than 40 sniffer dogs were part of the search, and the local government became involved. All this has led to no trace of Mohamed, and the case remains unsolved. Mohamed's family believed that foul play was involved. One interesting factor that was discovered in the case is that a small plane crashed around the same time Mohamed disappeared. After finding the site, investigators discovered the pilot had purposefully turned off the navigation and the surveillance system. There was no evidence Mohamed had ever been near the plane, but this didn't stop speculation that it had been used to transport him after he was kidnapped. Another possibility is that someone tried to rob Mohamed while he was out walking. He wore traditional Arabic clothing and would have stood out, and most people in the area knew him, so it wouldn't have been unimaginable that he was targeted. If the robbery went wrong, the criminal could have panicked and hidden the body. Foul play isn't the only explanation though. Given Mohamed's advanced age and health problems, it's possible he simply wandered off and got lost, and is still waiting to be found. Whatever the case, the family still has a reward for information leading to Mohamed's recovery, and the case remains unsolved. Number 2. Something strange happened at a party in Kansas Settlement, Arizona, which led to a missing person case that still remains unsolved. Adam Castillo has been missing since 2008, and his family seemed to be no closer to answers than they were when he vanished without a trace. It was Saturday, September 13th, and Adam and two sisters were getting ready to go to a party in a desert area, known locally as the Loop. It had actually been one of Adam's sisters that had encouraged him to go to the party, but on the night of the party, their ride was late, and Adam wasn't really up for the event. The siblings decided to stay home and were enjoying an evening in when one of Adam's friends arrived and managed to convince him to join them at the Loop. Adam left without his phone or wallet. his sisters wouldn't go to the party in the end. When they realized Adam didn't have his belongings with him, they tried to call the friend who had picked Adam up. The friend said he had just dropped Adam off at the party because he needed to go home. What exactly happened at the Loop that night is a mystery. There were about 25 young partygoers at the event, which featured a bonfire. It seemed each one had a different story about what happened that night, but they all managed to make it home, except for Adam. Adam's sisters were worried, especially when he didn't contact his mother. It was normal for him to keep her up to date with where he was going and what he was doing on a night out, but they assumed that he would be back in the morning. Sure enough, that morning, a truck pulled up outside their home, but Adam wasn't in it. Instead, his friend Gary climbed out and asked where Adam was. He was confused when he learned that Adam hadn't made it home that night. According to Gary, Adam had saved his life when he pulled him out of the bonfire at the party. Gary still had some serious burns to his face, but he would be okay. At that point, Adam's family were concerned something had happened and they went to the police. Police have never been able to piece together what happened at the party. Some say that Adam left with a woman, while others say that he got into a fight with someone there. Some sources say that Gary fell into the bonfire, while others say that he was pushed because he owed someone money, and when Adam pulled him out of the fire, Adam became a target. It seems likely someone at the party knows what happened to Adam. There's been no trace of him since that night, and his case remains unsolved. Anyone who can uncover the answers in this case should contact the local county sheriff's office at 520-803-3280. Number 1. Jessica Masker was walking along East Washington Street in Indianapolis, Indiana, when she disappeared without a trace. It was the early hours of the morning of April 15, 2013. And 9 years have passed with little update in this unexplained case. Jessica was a 24-year-old mother of 2. She had struggled at school and dropped out before graduating, but was working on improving her life when she vanished. She was studying for her GED, and some sources claim she was working on her addiction to illegal substances. But there were definitely obstacles in achieving that goal. First was her boyfriend, who was allegedly violent towards her. She had wound up in the hospital a few days before she vanished due to an attack, and he had been arrested, but was released not long after. The day before she disappeared, Jessica was involuntarily committed to a hospital, possibly due to her addiction. However, she checked out, and in the early hours of April 15th, her aunt took her to a cousin's house. She had planned to spend the night with the cousin, but they got into an argument. Jessica left on foot at about 3 a.m. and headed towards a nearby gas station. This wasn't a great part of town, with illegal substance crimes being very common, as well as street workers. On her way there, Jessica noticed 2 men who made her feel unsafe. When she was at the gas station, she called her brother and asked for him to pick her up. She also told him about the 2 men, saying that they came at her wrong. Her brother didn't know what she meant by that, but he couldn't pick her up because he was already on his way to work. He suggested that she call their mother for a ride instead. Rather than do this, Jessica called her boyfriend. She asked him to pick her up and began walking down East Washington Street to meet him. Some sources say she also called her mother to tell her what she was doing. Jessica would never be seen again. Her boyfriend claims to have had nothing to do with the disappearance, but police don't believe that he was being entirely truthful with them. They also believe that there are others in the community that know where Jessica is, but they aren't talking. However, police say that they don't believe foul play was involved. Naturally, Jessica's family think otherwise. They've set up a GoFundMe to help raise money for a reward for information in her case, as well as raising awareness in the media. Anyone with information that could help finally solve this missing person case can contact the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department at 317-327-6160. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.